Yes.
And by Don Moran. Is that who it's recording by?
Yes.
So the meeting is being recorded by Don Moran. Yeah, you notified the chair. M-R-I-N. Chair Regari and the Board of Assessors reserves the right to remove any or have removed any person or persons for profanity, threat, or continued disruption during the meeting. Roll call, board members. Chair Joseph Regari is here. Clerk Jim Geisman.
Yes.
Chief Assessor Randall Austin. Welcome. And Administrative Assistant Sandra Godoya is here. Actually, Assistant Assessor, excuse me. I know, exactly. We need our reading of the November 11th, 2022 minutes. Okay, 9 a.m. Meeting was called to order by Chair Regari. Chair Regari inquired if anyone was recording the meeting. None were. Roll call of board members. Chair Joseph Regari, Clerk Geisman, Chief Assessor Randall Austin, Assistant Assessor Sandra Godoya. Chair Regari read the November 1st, 2022 meeting minutes. On a motion by Clerk Geisman, seconded by Chief Assessor Austin, it was voted to accept and approve the November 1st, 2022 meeting minutes. Public comment. Public comment was opened by Chair Regari at 9:04 a.m. New old business. Board discuss excise weeks for 2022. On a motion by Regari, seconded by Geisman, it was unanimously voted to accept and approve the excise weeks from October 31st, 2022 to November 14th, 2022 in the amount of $6.11.84 for CY 2022. Ways and Means meeting discussion. The board discussed the documents LA3 and LA13 that were sent to the DOR, waiting for approval from the DOR. Chief Assessor Austin mentioned that it was sent to Sandra Brusso, but it will be turned over to Paula King, who will be our new representative. Chair Regari mentioned the Ways and Means meeting will be held tonight at 6 o'clock via Zoom only. Also, the City Council meeting will be held Wednesday, November 16, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the John Zahn Community Center via Zoom. Guest Eleanor Mandel of 24 Church Street entered the meeting at 9:14 a.m. Chief Assessor Austin stated the DOR needs to approve the LA3 before the council can vote. He will notify Sandra Brusso the date of our council meeting. Chief Assessor Austin showed his presentation and recommendation to the board, which will also be presented for the Ways and Means meeting and the council meeting. Guest Ginny Disorder of 43 Silvercrest Lane entered the meeting at 9:20 a.m. Based on Chief Assessor Austin's information that was presented, on a motion by Regari, seconded by Geisman, is unanimously voted to accept the recommendation to not adopt a small business exemption for FY23. Motion by Regari, seconded by Geisman, it was unanimously voted to accept the recommendation to not adopt a residential exemption for fiscal year 2023. Eleanor Mandel provided a memo which was read to the board. It was stated that she wants public access with request information from the citizens of Greenfield. Guest Al Norman of 21 Grinnell Street entered the meeting at 9:48 a.m. Clerk Geisman inquired the term calculation ladder. Chief Assessor Austin explained that it shows all the different aspects of how to get the valuation of a property. Councilor Disorder discussed what would be helpful for the Ways and Means Committee meeting, the percent of residential versus commercial and industrial from last year to this year. Councilor Disorder discussed the concerns with 7 Legion Ave and 173 Main Street. Councilor Disorder also mentioned a building permit issue at 163 Chapman Street. Chief Assessor Austin believes he has looked at 173 Main Street. We will look into these properties and discuss at a future meeting. Al Norman discussed areas of inequity for commercial properties and residential properties. He is interested how the assessor's office looks at properties, how the valuations are determined, and what the different factors of each type of property. Next scheduled meeting is December 6, 2022. Discuss statutory exemptions in executive session. Motion by Geisman, seconded by Austin, was unanimously voted to close public comment at 10:14 a.m. Guests Mandel, Disorder, and Norman left the meeting at 10:14 a.m. Motion by Austin, seconded by Geisman, is unanimously voted to open executive session at 10:14 a.m. Motion by Austin, seconded by Regari, is unanimously voted to close executive session at 10:35 a.m. Motion by Geisman, seconded by Austin, was voted to adjourn at 10:35 a.m. Respectfully submitted, Senator Godoy. Okay.
I have one amendment.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the Ways and Means discussion, and we mention Sandra Russo, it doesn't really say who she is.
Okay.
And that, where she's gonna be turned over to Paul, I think if we should just put in Department of Revenue representative, so.
Department of Revenue.
Should clarify
Yeah.
that Paula and Sandra
Or from the DOR.
correct.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve. A motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Austin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. Would anybody like to make a motion to open public comment?
I'll do that. And I'll second.
Seconded by Austin. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Before we start, should we have a list of the guests?
Yeah.
As we did previously?
Yeah, sure, that sounds like a fine thing. We're gonna open up public comment. Speaking time is 3 minutes for each person, and if you'd like, state your name and address, and let us know what you'd like to say. Anybody have any comments at this time?
I do, I'll start.
Okay.
And I'll stop when, I believe that the Board of Health Inspector's on the way, so when she gets here, I'm gonna stop my comment, if that's permissible with the board.
Just state your name and
So my
address.
name is Virginia DeSorga, and I live on 43 Silvercrest Lane. I'm here to talk about the disturbing history on the property on 13 to 15 Riddell Street that will be brought up in a few minutes by Jennifer Hoffman. It was addressed publicly at their last Board of Health meeting. Mr. Ruggieri purchased the property as a foreclosure in January of 2010, and in 2020 put it into an LLC, Ruggieri LLC. He was a Greenfield assessor at the time of the purchase. The property had an occupied illegal third floor apartment when he bought it. He continued to have a renter on that third floor. Renters generate income. Complaints of cross-wiring throughout the building dated back over 10 years. A third floor tenant stated he paid for the electrical for the second floor unit. It was a 3-unit dwelling with only 2 meters. The building inspector and the fire department became involved. There was no second egress. By January of 2017, that tenant, a male, was out, and the sink was disconnected, and Mr. Ruggieri signed a statement that he would not rent it again. This year we found out again that there was a tenant living on the third floor apartment, and that water had been coming into that apartment. And then on the second floor complained about the water coming in from the third floor, and this had been going on for a while. The previous long-term owner of this property also owns multiple commercial properties throughout the city, as does Mr. Ruggieri and his family. They are both called upon to fill out and sign income and expense reports on many of their rental property. These reports are an important factor in determining the assessed value of their real estate. The fact that our chief of the Board of Assessors repeatedly did not tell the truth over an extended period of time on this property calls into question the valuation of all Mr. Ruggieri's properties and casts doubt on the value of the properties of the other long-term owner as well. Sadly, this was not a mistake or an isolated incident, but instead a pervasive problem. By devaluing his own property, Mr. Ruggieri increased the tax burden on the property owners who told the truth. Imagine the implications as the city defends itself on an appeal process before the appellate tax board, or when the Department of Revenue reviews our overall assessing practices. I believe that he should resign. And I would like to point out that the other members of this board, including Randy Austin, has been here less than 6 months. He's brand new to this. We have 2 other members here who have been serving in their positions for less than a year. So I don't want to cast aspersions onto this entire thing. We need you, and we need this issue to be addressed. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else like to make a comment?
I would like to make a comment.
Go ahead, please state your name
My
and
name's
address.
Ryan Whitney. I live in Greenfield. You know, I've been following politics for a long time in this town since I've moved here, and there's a lot of nepotism that goes on that's unaddressed. This is definitely a clear conflict of interest, Mr. Gary, and you should step down. You honestly should. You're cheating your neighbors, your friends, everybody in this town. And everybody's in this room I'm shaking saying this, because this isn't fun. We don't, you know, if you were just a regular dude, no one would be on your ass, but you're the assessor. We look at you and we go, oh please, like please do the right thing. And when we continuously find, this isn't the only thing we found about your properties. There's many more. You should step down, sir. The nepotism is disgusting. That's all.
Jean Wall?
I'm Jean Wall, and I live at 301 Countryside. I come before you to address the issue of building permits. As the chief assessor for the city of Greenfield, Mr. Gregary does not seem to be aware of their importance in the assessment process. My understanding is that building permits are the process used to identify new growth in the city. They must be accurate regarding the cost of the project. They must also be timely regarding the start and completion of the project. Permits that are never closed or permits that aren't accurately reflecting the cost of the project can skew the accuracy of all assessments in Greenfield. Projects without permits are also harmful. If a property that has been greatly improved without a permit sells for much more than the adjacent properties, those properties might unfairly have the assessed value increased. The carelessness with which you treat this process as chief assessor causes all the tax-paying citizens of our city to question their assessment. They also ask if they should reveal their improvements or try to hide them, as you have successfully done for many years. I realize that you have contributed many hours and much money volunteering in Greenfield. Thank you for your service. However, the time has arrived for you to voluntarily resign from the Board of Assessors. You can use that newly found time to correct your problems with the health department and to correct all the mistakes you've made on past building permits. The citizens of Greenfield deserve a Board of Assessors that believes following the law is important.
Doug Mayo, 143 Wells Street in Greenfield. I just want to say that I am appalled at hearing this because chiefly for the reason that meeting after meeting, City Council, we hear that the Greenfield is money strapped, and we're keep coming to council, and we have to make some tough decisions about what we can fund and what we can't fund. And knowing that properties are not being valued the way that they should be, and it's being hidden, and permits are not being pulled the way that they should, completely, that's money that could be going to the Greenfield coffers, and Greenfield wouldn't have to be calling to the council if the money was straight. So I believe Councilor DeSorger said it correctly, that if these problems, they need to be addressed immediately. And that I concur that you should resign because these are long-standing problems, and that that they need to be corrected and that they can't continue. So thank you.
Would you like to make comments?
Well, my name is Jen Hoffman. I'm the health director for the city of Greenfield. And we're here because we had a technical problem at our board meeting and forgot to press record. So apologies for that. But during our board meeting, we cover all different topics, so we have the board aware. We do our disease updates, and it's pretty much in the same pattern. We do disease updates, we do properties, and we do restaurants, and then other stuff that we're thinking about. Or any other big issues that are happening. And what happened was 1315 Riddell is a property we have been working on separately from zoning. So it's two separate issues. So the permitting and all that and how it's assessed is different from what our concerns are. Now, my inspector, Nicole Blayback, has been the one that was taking point on this inspection. And I was in the background and discussing with Commissioner Snow things that were going on in parallel to the housing violations. As for the violations, is on the second floor apartment. The tenant had a leak that he's been complaining about stemming from the third floor for approximately 2 years. And there was text messages and communication, correct? Mm-hmm. Going through, and it was not being addressed. He called us approximately a few months ago when we got involved, and we reached out to the owner of the property, and basically, here we are. However, on that note, we visited the property with Commissioner Snow yesterday. The third floor tenant was actively moving as we were there. There was a delay in time for this person. They were supposed to be out about 3 weeks ago, but they were moving out yesterday. As for the second floor apartment, the owner of the property said that he's going to get sheetrock, so on and so forth, remove the shower from the third floor apartment and fix whatever the issues are, and that should be done within a couple of weeks. So, and we're going to follow up obviously and see if that's true. As for the zoning, it is assessed as a 2-bedroom home, a 2-apartment home. It was, when we were there even yesterday, a 3-apartment home. But the owner of the property stated that they are not going to have it as a property anymore, and either they're just going to use it as storage or have the second floor apartment and the third floor apartment as one unit. So that is what's going on. And honestly, I think everybody knows that the health department is going to follow through with housing violations no matter who it is. It's our role to make sure everyone is getting their time to have corrections made. No one should be living with leaks where mold could develop and other issues. And especially something ongoing for a couple of years. So that's just a little excessive. Any other comments that I left out? I don't know if you ask questions at this time.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments for public comment session? Yes.
I do.
Please.
Jackie Thibodeau, I'm at 13 Silvercrest Lane. I'll make this very short, and as you can see, I don't have a paper in front of me because it's all in my head. I really feel that you should be a big man and resign. And I know you're laughing about it and you think this is funny, but it's not. We're paying very high taxes. We live in condos where we don't own the outside, and I've been here many times for abatement requests and have been denied. The only time we were accepted is when we went to the appellate board. I'm paying almost $7,000 in taxes on a two-bedroom condo. And I know that some of your pals or cronies are getting big abatements. And I'm not naming any names, but I really feel, and I think everyone in this room feels the same way, you should resign your position. And that's it, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, please.
And Mislack 9 Silvercrest Lane. I guess for the two newer members, I can continue where Jackie left off and just shed some history, because we've been involved with the Assessors Board, and it goes back to 2017. We appeared before the Appellate Board based on, the application for abatements not granted, so then the next step is the Appellate Board. And that was for the taxes in 2016. And we actually, the board ruled in our favor and said that the assessments reflected the fair market value. So we've had, minimum of 5 years doing different research and do a little bit more each year to prepare for our statements when it comes to abatements. And I feel that Mr. Regari is taking advantage of his position as an assessor. As Jean talked about, building permits for property owned, and also building permits and changing and incorrect information being recorded on a property record card, which is a very important aspect of the assessor's duties. I have a property record card from 2021, which states that there was a new kitchen, new cabinets, countertop, and tile floor, insulated, reframed with new windows, and a new bath installed. The cost, according to building permits, was well over $80,000. The renovations reported on the property record card are $7,112. The newly renovated property with lap pool and other amenities on 1.1 acres is twice the size of my condo, and the assessed value at that time was $288,700, which is about what the condos are going up and assessed for. So there's assessment inequalities in the city, and I don't know how much is affected, but every time that we do some research, it comes back to something involving Mr. Regari. And so I feel that he should not be involved on the Assessors Board at all. Thank you.
Anybody else have any public comments? Yes, please.
My name's Marianne Bullock. I live at 179 Hope Street. I think I want to share a little bit of a different take on this from the first time I heard about this issue. My main concern was the tenants that were living on that third floor. I've worked in human services in Greenfield for 13 years now, and we have the entire time been in a housing crisis. I myself moved to Greenfield on a housing voucher because I was no longer had a home to live in. And was able to purchase a home in Greenfield and put an addition on it. Married to a contractor, we pulled a permit, we built that addition, we paid the taxes on our property. My own father was unable to find housing for the last year. He's a retired vet. I was able to purchase a home for him. Any of work that needs to be done on that home, I know needs to be permitted. Right? I'm an ordinary citizen, and I know this. The concern that I have is about this tenant who's been paying rent on this property for I don't know how long, and now is in an emergency situation where they have to move out and find a place to live. And so I'm hoping that moving forward, now that the choices that have been made have come to light, that this tenant has been given more than first, last, and security to find a new place, that they've been paid back some of that back rent that they've paid to you, that they've built equity into your property with, and that they have a place to go. I also just want to say, like, I have some compassion for what you're going through. This is obviously not an easy thing. And Greenfield, we have a problem right now where we have people in positions of power that are making bad choices and that it's not being rectified and they're not being accountable for those choices. And so I don't know if the thing is for you to resign, but I know the thing is for you to start being transparent about what happened and why you made the choices you did and what you're going to do to rectify and be accountable for those choices moving forward.
Anybody else for public comment? Okay, I guess we'll move forward with the meeting. Tackle new old business. Exercise weeks.
There's just two small ones. These are for November 14th to December 5th.
Okay.
One for 21, calendar year 22.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we approve the motor vehicle exercise, the dates noted. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion carries. This door's gonna be kept open, guys, just because it's a public meeting.
Did you want to start with the office?
Yep, so,
Okay.
that's the next thing is, the report from the Assessors office in RRG, so the big news is getting the tax rate set. And we got the final approval, which is additional work that all the, accounting and the clerk and, other departments are doing to make
Give
sure.
me that door back, please. We just gotta leave it. It's an open meeting, just to
To make sure that we have our final, once we got our tax rate values approved, to get everything to the finish line, so to speak, has happened. And now we're basically just trying to get all of our ducks in a row so that we can get the next billing out, which is, the actual bills that come out in January. We're, of course, prior to that, creating the billing file and then fine tuning it with all the different adjustments that need to be made. And that's where we're at right now, is trying to get everything ready so that we can start creating that file, the test file, and seeing how things are turning out and making sure that we've got everything set the way it needs to be.
Okay, sounds good. Any thoughts or questions regarding that?
What's going on with RNG?
With RG, well,
Is there anything worth noting?
there's really, no, it was just them helping us with this push to get up to the finish line, and now they're kind of, off the hook until we get into abatement season, I guess, and they might be assisting us with that. But really, it's kind of downtime for them. And just any continuing thing, of course, because we have, they're actually sort of like part of our staff. There's other things that are going on. They're still coming to the office, and it would just be ongoing inspections, keeping up with building inspections, and permits and that type of thing. Also in the office, we're preparing for all our mailings. So beginning of the year, everything goes out, income expense, 3ABC informal list for personal property.
Okay, good. Previous years, we've cut it to the wire? Is we looking like we're gonna be able to
Yeah, no,
print
we
these
have
off and be
plenty
in
of
the
time, yeah,
Okay.
because I've heard the story of, on Christmas Eve, or, trying to bring everything home to get the billing ready, but we're in advance of that.
Yep, okay,
And
good.
that's our goal, or it's gonna be my goal, going forward, to try and get approval and have everything ready prior to when the council is used to voting on it. So the sooner we can get done, the better. If they want to vote in advance, well, they'll be able to, in theory.
Yeah,
But, at least have on our end, be ahead of the game and not get to the point where you're waiting until you're having the city council meetings in December to get your tax rate approved, because then it's crunch time. In the office like it was in previous years, so.
okay. I'd like to note that I thought your presentation at the Ways and Means and the council meeting was professional, and I like how you broke down the comparisons based on the different categories for each town, so folks can kind of see where we fit in, and I just thought it was well done.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that, and actually also got some good input so that we can hopefully move on it for next year.
Good.
Make sure that we have the comparisons and the concerns that other people have brought out, because they're looking for a little bit, Councilor Healy, I think, was looking for some more statistical information on some of the towns that we did comparisons with, and I thought that was a good idea to give some, population and income info to give a better idea comparison-wise to Greenfield. So,
Sure.
So we'll be working on that.
Okay.
And hopefully have every year I plan on doing some type of presentation. And you don't want to be presenting the same thing every year.
Sure.
So it's good to have that and kind of concentrate on something different, or try to bring some different point forward to sort of educate the council, give them additional information so that it's not just dry and humdrum, but
Sure.
Keeps you involved in understanding the process.
Okay, good. Anything else with the day-to-day business? Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Anything on TIFs? Do you have a TIFs meeting?
We are going to be having a TIFs meeting. I have one coming up later in the week with MA Adams.
Yep.
And that's another one of the things, other adjustments that need to be made when we're talking about the building. Those are some of the other things.
Okay.
TIFs too,
Yep.
because
Okay.
any TIF or agreement that you have for any type of adjustment in value, this is where, in the actual building, where you need to make sure that you're having so.
Okay, good. Okay, any other new business that we want to, old business? That's it? Okay.
Really, I think we need to move on to our statutory exemptions.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then I'll make a motion to close public comment.
And I will second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like our next scheduled meeting might be December 20th,
Okay.
if needed, otherwise we'll be working into January.
Yeah, considering the timing, you can play that by ear.
Okay.
Because it's quite early for the board.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to do almost
Should we
February.
just make it for January 10th? Does that work? Or should we check the meeting room?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the coordination
Yeah.
room.
Okay, let's set a meeting for January 10th, 2023. And in executive session, we're working on just statutory exemptions, is that,
Yeah.
that's all you have on the agenda?
Yeah,
Okay. So, I'll entertain a motion to open
yeah, I'll make a motion to go into
executive session. Seconded by Jim. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, we'll go into executive session.